What is happening, guys? It's Agon here, and we're taking a look finally at Baldur's Gate 3. Because of Armored Core 6, I haven't really been able to get that much into this game, but now that I've completed that, I've finally got not even that much into it, to be honest. But I think I've got enough into it to talk about the basic accessibility, what's there, what isn't, bloody da da. So yeah, without any further ado, let's take a look. So here we are in the accessibility menu, and to be honest, it is a bit sparse looking. First of all, we got camera shake on off. Speaks for itself. Whether the camera shakes in certain actions and stuff, I have it off just because it avoids any sort of distraction or me losing my place or whatever. Long action search holds. This is where basically, to be honest, it's a good accessibility feature in and of itself. I'll just show that off really quickly. So if you're in a place and there's like items around, rather than you being like going to each individual item and searching for it, you just hold X, and if you hold X and you hear that like a click, you let go, and next to you comes a list of all the different items in your immediate vicinity, and you can basically go X and you'll walk towards that item and he'll search the item, and it's just a lot easier than having to manually go around picking each individual thing up. So I'm just walking to this item, which is... oh, it's a candle. Can't really do much with the candle. But anyway, back to the accessibility menu. So yeah, the long action search hold basically determines if you have to hold the X button for longer before that search menu pops up on the side. Can be useful for certain people, I'm guessing, with motor disabilities. Explicit content. Now, I don't really know why this is in accessibility. Stuff like show genitals, I don't know why that's considered an accessibility feature. Cinematic nudity, or show private moments. These all speak for itself, basically. Do you want to show off your meat and two veg in certain scenes? Do you want to show off nakedness during cutscenes or certain private moments? This is, I think, during co-op and stuff. If you have private moments, do you want your friends to see them or something like that? Yeah, again, I don't know why that's in accessibility. And another feature that I'm going to go over in a second is not in accessibility. But for now, let's move on. Dialogue options, subtitles. Let's turn that on just to look at the... So you can have subtitles on or off. You can have the subtitle speaker on or off, which is quite good. You can have a subtitle background to give it a bit more contrast. Subtitle background opacity. Oh, you can make it really opaque, like fully black, or you can make it fully translucent. These quite a good selection of options, to be honest, but I don't really use subtitles, so I'm going to turn all of these off. Yeah, let's move on. So this dialogue text size and overhead text size, I've got it to the largest it can go, which is 80. It's quite large, to be honest. This helps obviously with things like when you're making decisions, because it's obviously a Dungeons and Dragons game. There's a lot of dialogue options to choose from. I've made it the largest size possible, which can be quite helpful. What would be helpful as well is if the dialogue options could have a background, like an opaque background, like the subtitles do, because sometimes you're in a very bright area and the cutscene's taking place in a really bright area, and the dialogue options kind of blend in with the background, and I find it quite hard to read. And then we've got audio options, centralized audio, mono audio. That's all well and good. So that's it for the accessibility features. On the accessibility menu anyway. There is, if I go over to the interface menu, there's stuff like north facing minimap and blah blah blah, but then there is things like exploration highlights, which I have all on basically. I'm not really sure what circle and highlight means, but I've got them all on: the exploration highlight, the turn-based highlights, and tactical view highlights. I think these should be in accessibility features, because it's, if you look, all my characters have like a white highlight around them, and when I'm fighting enemies, so certain people have different color highlights. Like there's an NPC over there, has like a, is that like a yellowish highlight or like a bright red highlight? I'm not sure. But anyway, it's a different style of highlight, and it means I can see, I can pick out, especially in darker areas, I can pick out items and NPCs from quite far away. Like I know there's a NPC over here, there's one over there. Really easy to spot with these highlights. One thing I don't like though is when you're in turn-based mode, the enemies have like a red highlight, which I find impossible to see. And if anything, it makes the enemies even harder to spot than without the highlight. But it is superseded in some way by the fact that you can. Oh, what did I do? So when you're in turn-based mode, and I'll go into turn, I'll see if I can find some combat in a bit to show this off. But when you're in turn-based mode, you can press the left and the right button on the D-pad to literally switch between characters or enemies, and the camera will lock on to different enemies on the screen. So that's really good. So if you want to cast like a spell, like Eldritch Blast or any one of these spells on the spell wheel, you select the spell and then you scroll between the characters you want to use them on with the left and right arrows. Makes it really easy, to be honest, to do the combat. The minimap, if I were to zoom in. Now, there's a few things that I don't like about the minimap. First thing is it's in the top right corner of the screen, which means it's just hard for me to see because it's in the top right corner of my TV, which is quite a large TV. So I have to sort of like stretch or strain to see it, even when I zoom in. Second thing I don't like is I'm not really sure which way my character's pointing on the minimap. I can just barely see like kind of where it's pointing, but I'm not sure, because it just looks like a circle to me, and I can't see sort of where the arrow is pointing or which direction it's going in. What would be helpful is obviously if there was a clear arrow-shaped avatar icon on the map that would indicate exactly which way they're pointing. Other than that, the map's alright. It's not the best map I've seen, but certainly not the worst map. There is some contrast, like I can see where the path is, sort of, and the icons, like the quest icons and certain points of interest, show up quite brightly against the map background. Now if I go onto the full map, where is the full map? There it is. Just a big version of the minimap. I use this, to be honest, more than the minimap, just because it covers the full screen. Again, I'm not really sure which way my character's pointing on this map. I can faintly, I think, see like a little tiny, if I really squint, I can see a little tiny arrow to show that he's pointing southeast now, I think. So he's pointing down this way. But again, it would be so much better if there was like a clear, big sort of arrow, like in other games have it, like an arrow shape rather than a circle with a tiny little indicator. As for, again, quest icons, they show up quite clearly, and if you hover the cursor over them, large text pops up: defeat the goblins, kill all the leaders. Yeah, it's quite easy to navigate, I think, anyway. For me, it's quite easy to navigate. And again, the contrast is okay, it's not the best, and it's not the worst. Now, I'm going to skip ahead until I find a turn-based combat mode. I'm probably going to go kill these goblins over here or something. Just to show you guys how combat works in this game and where it could be improved, basically. Okay guys, so this is the combat mode, and this is what I wanted to show off, basically. All of my people show up in like bright highlights, and all of the enemies show up in red. Now the red I can't see at all, but if I hit left or right on the D-pad, I can scroll between the different, well, my different allies as well. And whenever it says move to, you sort of know it's an ally. Or whenever it says, I think main hand attack or something like that, you know it's an enemy. So right now I'm scrolling left and right. I've scrolled right and I've landed on an enemy. It says high defense, it says their defenses, and it says main hand attack. Press right again, it locks onto another enemy. So I basically know there's 3 enemies around me, and I know that by pressing left and right on the D-pad, and I can select one enemy like this basically, and then press R1 to open up the spell wheel or the attack wheel, pick a certain attack to do, and whether or not it's ranged or melee, I have to be in certain range of them. But if it's ranged, I can attack them from far away, obviously. So I just select the weapon wheel, pick what I want to do, and attack them, basically. So this was just a quick overview of the combat mode. I actually end up dying here because I wanted to show you guys just really quick combat, so I ran into it. Literally having, I don't think I had very high health. I don't think I had I just wasn't prepared. All of my allies were bunched up. But yeah, I ended up dying. So I'm just gonna quickly show just a little bit of like how I navigate combat. Not really with the analog stick, because I can't, like I said, I can't see the enemy highlights in red. What would be really helpful is if the enemies, if you could customize the highlight to different, so make like the enemies bright yellow or something like that, just so that they would show up against the dark background. That would be really, really helpful. But like I said, it's kind of superseded by the fact that you can literally scroll between the enemies with the arrow keys. With the D-pad and find them like that. Oh, he's hitting a drum. He's probably summoning people. Now, because the turn-based combat works like this, and it relies on not just the analog stick but the arrow keys, this game could very, very easily be made accessible with a screen reader. Because right now I can't really see the dice rolls. There's an audio cue to let you know when you win the dice rolls. It's sort of like the dice sound, and it goes like ding to let you know you win, or another sound like a lower sound to let you know you lose. But if there was a screen reader, it could tell you the dice rolls. It could tell you, so along the right hand side of the screen, there's loads of actions popping up that are just popping up on the screen and disappearing way too fast for me to see. A screen reader would negate this completely, because they would obviously read out the actions to you. A screen reader would also, as you scroll between your allies and enemies, it could tell you what the enemy is, whether they have any buffs or defenses active, or what your ally, who your ally is, how much health they have, blah de da de da. So it's quite a missed opportunity, and I really hope that if Larian see this, I hope that they can add it in a future update, because they have been very committed to updating this game and making it better. Well, because it's been in early access for like 3 years or so before it even came out. So there is hope that they could add a screen reader and some sort of navigational assist, because that's all this game kind of needs to be accessible, really, for low vision and blind players. It's basically just it is a tabletop Dungeons and Dragons game, and most of the time it is quite accessible, because a lot of the gameplay takes place in dialogue, so it's nothing that a screen reader couldn't handle. So yeah, all they'd have to do is add some sort of screen reader. I'm getting my ass handed to me in this scene. All they had to do is add some sort of screen reader, and yeah, it would be very, very playable for visually impaired and blind people. So there you have it, guys. That was my very brief low vision accessibility overview of Baldur's Gate 3. Like I said just a second ago, this game could be made really accessible in combat with a screen reader and it could also be made accessible with some sort of navigational assist, although the screen reader could help a lot with that as well, because if I go into like tactical mode, again, like, as long as the screen reader sort of read whatever you're hovering over, and it used like an... Oh god, what am I doing? No, I don't want to jump anywhere. So, as long as it used some sort of, where you could move between items of interest, like you can between, the characters with... Which you sort of, you can actually. So, that says there loot. So, if you're standing near something you can loot, instead of like going near it, or even using the search, the hold to search button, if you press left or right, it will go over to the nearest thing, and then you can press loot. And I think this is the thing I looted earlier before I reloaded the game. Yeah, but there's no reason why a screen reader couldn't be worked into that, or some sort of audio pings to let you know when you're near quests, or things like that. Yeah, it would be really helpful, and also would be really, like, it feels like the foundations of accessibility are ingrained into this game already, and all it needs is like I said, a screen reader and some sort of navigational assist, and it would work, because the screen reader would read out all of the combat prompts, all of the people that are next to you, the actions you can do. Essentially, this is a text adventure game that's had this action RPG kind of slapped on top of it, which is very good for low vision people, because it means that, well, it can work with the screen reader, and as Larian have been known to support this game a lot with updates, especially because it's been in early access for like 3 years before it even came out. I do have some hope that they will improve the accessibility of this game, and I kind of really hope that they do see this video and yeah, work to improve the accessibility, because this could be a game that can be enjoyed by so many blind people very, very easily. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys. If you have any questions about the game, or any comments or anything to say, yeah, comment section down below, and I'll catch you again on the next video.